Hi guys, I am live. Forgot to put the headsets on. Hopefully you can hear me now. Okay, I am live. All right. Welcome to my sauna bath at over 100 degrees here in California, Bakersfield. A little hot out today. We got a great show planned today. Tomorrow night we're going to do another show. Jason and Paul will join me tomorrow night. They weren't able to do tonight. So we're going to do two shows. One tomorrow night, completely different. I think you'll like it. But tonight's show, we're going to talk about our defense. We've talked about every other position on the team, but defense and kicking and punting. We're going to talk about that tonight. The one thing um, I'm not predicting special teams, like who's going to do punt returns and kick returns, holders and snappers and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that tonight because honestly, you don't know until game time what they're going to do. Okay, so here we go. I went out and predicted my okay. Um, Forgot to go live. I was on time, wasn't I? Or was I late? Anyhow, let's get down to business before we get started. As always, I'm asking you guys to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Anybody comes on here, please like away. Okay, I want to get that algorithm going. All right, we want to get it going and comment. Either the live show if you're here, or during the replay when you watch the replay. Just do the comment anyway. I don't think I've ever missed a comment or a question yet. I've always gone back and talked about it and commented back. And so that's what I'm asking you guys to do. And then when finally just share it, not only with your Hawkeye friends, because as I said before, I don't know every Hawkeye fan in the world. There's millions of us. And so I share it to as many Hawkeye fans as I know. I also share it to my Husker fan friends and my Cyclone friends because, we like to have a little fun with each other. And so that's how it's going to be. Okay, so I started out with naming my defense, my starting defense. Okay, and it's pretty easy when you look at what we got for backups. Though the hardest part was going to be when I got down to cornerbacks. I had to decide between two people, and I'll get to that when I get to the cornerbacks. Anyway, at left defensive end, I got Dante Craig. He's a senior. Left tackle, I got Aaron Graves. Um, he's a junior. I didn't realize he was only a junior. Defensive tackle, Yaya Black. You guys, can you believe he's a senior already? And he's 306 pounds. That guy is a big boy. Or big guy. We'll say big guy. Okay. At defense, right defensive end, I've got Ethan Herkett. 6'3", 260, also a senior. By the way, guys, there are 9 seniors on this team that we got to replace next year. How about that? We got to replace 9 of these guys. Um, so, okay, here we go. Okay, linebacker, Jay Higgins, a senior. Nick Jackson, a senior. And Nick Jackson had to get approval from the NCAA to have another year, as you guys know. I think he was at Virginia before. Was it Virginia or Virginia Tech or something? And they had a little thing go down there, and it canceled part of their season. They lost some games, so because of that, he was able to regain some more eligibility to play this year. So that's cool. We got We got Castro. Castro, another senior coming back. Cornerback one, I got one cornerback, Jamari Harris. He's a senior at 6'1", 180. I'm going to go with John Nestor at the other cornerback this year. He's a sophomore, 5'11", 196 pounds. He played in 10 games last year. He only had 2 tackles, but honestly, I picked him over T.J. Hall. And I think T.J. Hall and Nestor will probably rotate quite a bit. doing that. Okay. At strong safety, I got Xavier Wampa, Junior, 6'2", 210. Hard to believe, guys, that if he has a great season this year, he probably gone to the NFL. The guy has the talent, and I didn't realize that he played with either a hurt hand, broken hand, sprained hand, or something last year that kind of limited his ability to get to the ball and do interceptions. And we're going to need him to step it up and maybe nail a few interceptions this year. Um, at free safety, Quinn Schulte, senior. God, it seems like he's been around forever. Ever. I didn't look up his game stats, but I bet he's played all 4 years that he's been here. He's 209 at 6'1". Okay. And then, Iowa kind of list 12 starters, right? And so at Leo, we got Kyler Fisher. He's listed as a linebacker. He's 5'11", 233. He's played in 47 games, had 3 starts, 38 tackles, and 3.5 were for losses. So not too bad on that. And he's got 1 PDEF. I'm going to type that for you guys to see that. I don't know what a PDEF is, but several of these defensive people have gotten that. Have that listed as their stat. At first, I thought it might be. So yeah. So at first, I thought it might be like points scored as a defensive person. Um, Pass defend. Calvin says pass defended. Jason told me earlier today that it was perimeter defense. So I don't know. So anyway, I like that. So that means maybe he deflected a pass or blocked a pass or something. Is that what you're saying, Kelvin? You know. So thank you, Kelvin. As usual, Kelvin's here to um, correct me or help me out when I stumble over some names and stuff like that. So okay, so then I went through. We had a lot of names to choose. Who do we want for our backups? Okay, and so all right, I started out with the DBs. Okay, I started in the back, and I'm going to work my way to the front. Okay, so here's some of the DB names that we've got. We got a redshirt freshman in Watts McBride, 6'0", 196. And so there's Luke Lutmar. Lutmar, he's a redshirt freshman. He played in 2 games last year, but had no recorded stats. Kale Kolorick, he's a sophomore. Derek Weiskopf, he's a freshman, 6'3", 210. Preston Reyes, 6'2", 215. Aiden Hall, another redshirt freshman, and Rashad Godfrey, 6'1", 180, another freshman. And then Cone or Keen Ettringer, he's a sophomore. He played in all 14 games last year. He had 8 tackles, and then he played in 4 games the year before in 2022, and had 1 tackle in that year. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. On that, Calvin. Yes, I am. We're gonna talk about him too, because he was one person I had a little hard time leaving off the list because he does have some experience. But when I get to the end of all this, we're going to talk about some of the people who I think are going to be rotating in the game quite frequently, and he will be one of them. Okay, and of course, then we got Keegan Davis. He's a redshirt freshman, and Zach Lutmar. He's a redshirt freshman. He did play in 2 games, but he had no recorded stats. Yeah. Okay. Farron's best overall defense. There may have been better groups, but this is Parker's best. Jerry, I'm going to say this. I don't know if it's his best because I'd like to think the 202 team was the better one. But overall, from top to bottom, but I'm going to say this is going to be the most experienced and the oldest defense around. I mean, I know some people have them picked to be like the top 5. Others have got them below 10, which I don't really understand that. After we've been top 5 for a couple of years, and we basically got the entire defense back. We may have lost a couple of starters, but we got their backups back. And so, yeah, yeah. So Jerry, so do you think this, Jerry? Do you personally think is this the best? I mean, I know that if you guys don't know, Jerry has a show that I think he's going to be recording here in a little bit. He will also be talking about defense tonight, and so I'll be anxious. I'll send that podcast out when they release it to all you guys. You guys should give those guys a listen. They're just a couple of fans like me, Paul and Jason, who just want to talk about it. Yeah, Kelvin says that Lee was ahead of Hall all year. I don't have either one of them in the starting lineup. Okay. Yes. Punting is winning is the name of his podcast, guys. Go get that. They're getting started on YouTube. They have had a few episodes, probably audio episodes. I'm assuming on Spotify and Apple and everything. I'm guessing. But they've just recently got into YouTube, and I like YouTube. It's the way to go as far as I'm concerned, because you can do YouTube. When your people are listening to YouTube, they can either sit and watch your ugly face, my ugly face, or Paul's and Jason's, um, or they can just plug it into their phone and listen to it as they go about their day, which is what I do when I'm out doing yard work, housework, or even driving to back and forth to the gym or at the gym. I just stick it in. I just stick it on YouTube and just listen to it like I was listening to audio. Unless they've got something they want to show me, I don't really, get into it too much. Um, so yeah, so yeah, so where was I at? Okay. All right. Okay. As we mentioned, Deshaun Lee is a sophomore, 5'10", 187. He played in 11 games, started 6. So Calvin is right. He did start some games last year. Um, I just I don't know why I don't have him in my starting lineup. I don't know why. I picked who I picked, and I got Deshaun Lee and TJ Hall, the two most experienced probably guys coming back to play. But anyway, Deshaun Lee, he had 32 tackles total last year. He had 9 at Iowa State, 8 versus Michigan. He had 19 solo and 13 assisted total for the season. So okay. Jamison Hines, a senior, 6'0", 199. He's played a career 24 games and 23 tackles. He too has a 1 PDEF. And so okay. Could potentially be his best. There has been better linebacker, Hodge, Greenway, etc. But overall, maybe. I think it's close. I don't know. I'm torn between this one and the 2002 team. Being their best, but hey, you know, it's all about the results, right? I think if we can go 11-1 this year, would it be nice to get that upset at Ohio State and go 12-0? If we go 12-0, guys, we're in the playoffs. Okay, I'm trying to do that. I know that Llama's in here somewhere. I saw some stuff from him, and okay. So anyway, yeah, somewhere in here. Anyway, Llama will pop up sooner or later. Okay, so many great defenses, hard to choose from, is what Calvin says. Calvin, yeah, 11-1 gets you in. Jerry, you're probably right, but I'm thinking 10-2 won't do it. Okay, so I talked about Jamison Hines. All right, how about Devin Hilson, a junior at 6'1", 197? And here's a freshman I really like who's coming in this year, Jalen Watson. Watch out, this guy might get some playing time as a freshman. As did TJ Hall when he was a freshman, as did Deshaun Lee when he was a freshman. And so, these are potential guys. These are really good potentials. Okay, and if you don't know, Jalen Watson, 6'4", 190. He is Fred Russell's nephew. Fred Russell is his uncle, and so I really like what there's there. Okay, so On that, I'm going to come back and tell you guys who I think are the guys that are going to rotate in and out at the end of I do all this. So let me move on to the linebackers as I move up the field from the back. Um, so here we go. All right, we got Jaden Montgomery, played 12 games, no tackles last year. Okay. Nolan DeLong. By the way, he was a sophomore. Jaden is a sophomore. Nolan DeLong is a redshirt freshman. He played one game with no tackles. Landon Van Kikirix also is a sophomore. Kelby T-Lander Jr. He's a junior. He's 6'4", 238. He played in 2 games with no stats. All right. Devin Van Ness is a freshman coming in. I believe he has a brother on the team. He's a freshman, 6'0", 211. So anyway, okay. Luke Elkin played in all 14 games last year. Had 1 tackle. He's played in a career. I don't have what his class is. I must have forgot that. He has played a career 40 games. That probably makes him a senior. And he's had a total of 5 tackles. So I think he's been rotated in and out, too, as a linebacker. Zach Tweed, he's a junior, 6'3", 242. 4 games last year and no starts and no stats. Carson Shire, junior, 6'2", 237, out of Iowa Falls, Iowa. He's a junior and he's played in 25 games with 9 tackles and he has half a tackle for a loss. Yeah. Thank you on that Elkins being the long snapper, Calvin. That appreciate that. Because I'm probably like everybody else. I don't really pay attention sometimes who the long snapper is, who the holder is. You know what I mean? And those guys are the forgotten people on the team because those are the guys that get the ball in the right position. The snapper has to get it to the holder. The holder has to get it down and set so that our place kicker can get it up in the air and on way to the thing. So why am I not paying attention to who those guys are? Because I really should. Because those guys are important too. Because if they screw up, the field goal gets messed up. All right. Anyway, I brought up the fact that Carson Shire is from Iowa Falls, Iowa, because before I moved to California in 2018, I had spent the previous 14 years in Hubbard, Iowa, which just is 12 miles from Iowa Falls. And so I feel like a local boy that I probably watched play football. Probably watched play football, but I wouldn't have remembered his name at the time because I watched a lot of Iowa Falls football games while I still live there. And the fact that he's a junior means that at one time he was playing high school ball at the same time as I was living there. So anyway, moving on. But he has played in 25 games, like I said. Okay, next up is Eric Epineza, who is a junior, he redshirted his first year. The next 2 years, he has not have any stats. He's not appeared in any games. And as you guys know, his brother's AJ, his dad is Epi, and God, do I mess this up? And the recruit that we're trying to get on the team is Jose. You guys said it for me last week and got it right, or Paul did. I'm sorry. Paul got it right for me last week. I can't have the pronounce, but you guys all know that we're hoping to get him in. It might be sooner than later, but I understand that he probably will commit to somebody sometime during July, sometime. Is what it's sounding like. Don't we have Calvin will probably know this answer better than anybody. Don't we have a person that we're recruiting hard who's supposed to make a decision tomorrow? Anybody know? July 1st? Okay. You guys can put that down there if you want to. Okay. Okay, we got Jaden Harrell. He's a junior, 6'2", out of Urbandale. And again, I don't usually put down where these guys are from, but we got a couple guys on the team from Urbandale. Yeah, these guys would have been in preschool or probably when I lived in Urbandale, but or newborns. But I lived in for a couple of years in the very early 2000s. I lived in Urbandale for a couple of years, and my daughter went to Urbandale High School. So, but yeah, these guys, considering they're probably about the same age as my grandson right now, so or just a year or two younger. So I'm going to guess they either weren't born or were just little babies at the time. Okay. Um. All right. But anyway, Jaden played in 14 games and he had one tackle. Cam Buffington, 6'3", 225 pounds, freshman. Obviously, he hasn't played in a college game yet. And so I got my papers all mixed up, so bear with me while I get them straightened out here. Okay. Alrighty, let's get those straightened out. Okay. So now we're going up to the defensive line, guys. What do we have? I did not find a lot of defensive linemen. hmm Uh, okay. Okay. You're asking if Hudson is a defensive tackle. I didn't see his name come up. I went through the roster. If he is, it didn't come up on my sheet, and I went through it a couple different times to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I do recall the name Hudson. I thought he played another position, but I will look it up for you right now. We got time. Okay. All right. Jerry says defensive line depth is, yeah. After looking at this was a big concern of mine too. Here's what we got for defensive linemen backing up our starters that I've already mentioned. Devin Kennedy, a freshman. Caden Crawford, a sophomore. Chase Brackney, a redshirt freshman. Jeff Bowie, a junior, and he's had no game action. He's a junior and has yet to play in a game, just like Epineza. Will Herbert is sophomore, 6'3". Maddox Johnson, there's another name in there, but I couldn't even begin to pronounce it, so I just went with. Um, okay, you're talking about Christian Hudson making his commitment tomorrow. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. Yeah. So yeah. Now I got it. I got it. So thank you. God, you made me think I missed somebody on my list. Guys, if you don't know, if you guys need some questions about recruiting, Calvin is very, very knowledgeable. There are names I'll forget, and he'll tell me about them, and I'll say didn't remember about them being recruited. And he makes fun of me for not remembering, but it's okay. Calvin's a good guy. He's a good egg, and he knows his stuff. So, I mean, Calvin is a good source of information if you guys want to learn anything, especially about recruiting. Okay. So anyway, Jeremiah Pittman. I think he'll be a backup. He played 13 games, 10 tackles, one for a loss last year. He is a junior. We got sophomore and Brian Allen. He played 4 games with one tackle last year, and Joseph Anderson is a freshman, so coming in. So obviously he doesn't have any game experience in college. In matter of fact, when I looked up his high school stats, they didn't really say a whole lot. They didn't publish much. Okay, defensive line, Luke Gaffney. Um, he he's a sophomore. It looks like he played 1 game with no stats. And Ryan Keenan, he's a incoming freshman, or he is a freshman right now. He's 6'2", 274 pounds. And so, honestly, guys, when you think about that, we do not have much behind our starters. That's all I could find behind our starters. So here's what I got. Okay. Kirk Ferentz doesn't always pay attention if they're a defensive end or a tackle or anything like that. I mean, well, not Kirk especially, but they always play their best. When it comes to offensive linemen, they play the best guys and work around the positions, even if these guys are playing a little bit out of position. I believe it's the same way with defense. Okay. So these are the first four guys I think are in to back up our defensive linemen: Jeremiah Pittman, Max Llewellyn, Jeff Bowie, and Luke Gaffney. Guys, this is hard. And like Jerry said that defensive line is a big concern. The depth. It is. It's got to be. We don't. I did not realize that we didn't have much going behind our guys right now. Okay, now I just kind of threw in the Cash, the Leo, the linebacker, and DBs all together because I know that the linebackers do some Cash and Leo, and then I don't want to know I don't want to try to figure out who should be playing cornerback and who should be playing Leo, who should be playing Cash, who should be playing safety, one of the safety spots. So I just kind of threw them all together. But when it comes to our DBs and our linebackers, I think these are the guys that'll be rotated in and out most of the time. I think the first guys in are Deshaun Lee and TJ Hall at cornerback. I think Luke Lutmer gets in there. Cone or Keen Ettringer gets in there. I think Jaden Harrell gets in there. I think Carson Shire gets in there. And you said Luke Elkin is a long snapper, so maybe he won't get in. But I had him in here anyway. And Jaden Montgomery, and I believe as a freshman, Jalen Watson gets some playing time. And so those are the guys who I think get in first. Get in first on the thing. I could be wrong, but like Jerry mentioned, depth is going to be a concern on the defensive line this year. We got to pray that these guys don't get hurt because we don't really have anybody behind them. Jeremiah Pittman might be the most experienced out of those guys. So anyway, that's who I kind of picked. I didn't even talk about Max Llewellyn, who's from Urbandale, or Kenneth Merriweather, who's also a redshirt freshman this year and who's had no game action. But Max Llewellyn has played in 17 games with 16 tackles, 3 for loss, 2.5 sacks, and 1 PDEF. Yeah. Okay. Tweet at iBar backup. Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right. So here's what I got. As far as the kickers, I think it's on foregone conclusion. Our punter will be Rise Dakin. He will be backed up by Ty Neeson, a freshman. Our place kicker will be Drew Stevens, and he'll be backed up by Trip Woody. He's a freshman. Guys, what happened to the guy that came in the Nebraska game last year and got the winning field goal? Did he graduate or did he move on? Because these are the only place kickers listed on the roster, this is the only 2 punters listed on our roster. Okay. And so anyway, just so you guys know that our D-line coaches are coached by Kevin Bell and Jay Neiman as an assistant. Our secondary, our coordinator, defensive coordinator coaches, Phil Parker coaches the secondary, and assistant defensive coordinator and linebackers coach is Seth Wallace. And as you guys know, he's also assistant coach to Kirk Ferentz. So anyway, I was thinking about this year a little bit coming up and how important it is to take advantage of our defense. We got our experienced defense, our most experienced defense, and like Jerry said earlier, it could be one of our best. And I think, in all probability, we got to get the playoffs this year. We've got to find a way to at least go 11-1 minimum. 12-0. 12-0 if we can make a big splash at Ohio State. I know it'll be tough, but it's not impossible. So here's the reason why. Okay, I'm looking ahead to the 2025 schedule. When we lose all of our defense, we lose 9 seniors off of our defense next year. Okay, and just about our entire offensive line is gone after this year too. Um, so look at this. Next year we play. Yeah, yeah, Jerry's right on this one. Defense takes a step back next year. So we have at Iowa State, Oregon, Penn State, USC, at Nebraska, at Wisconsin. I think those are our six toughest games next year. Okay, we could easily lose all six. Yeah, um, yeah. Unless he's a miracle worker, and we really do reload our, um, and he really does reload. Let's hope so. Let's hope he's got some diamonds in the rough there that we don't know about, and that these guys um, are something special that are still here. And honestly, if you guys see what they've already got committed coming in for 2025 class, I believe they got 12 or 13 recruits already committed, and those guys look pretty decent, pretty decent. Anyway, our what I would consider quote our easy games, but no games to be taken for granted in the Big Ten. Florida Atlantic and UMass. By the way, we don't play UMass until November 15th. And then we have Indiana, Michigan State, at Rutgers, and Minnesota. Again, I don't want to take Michigan State or Rutgers for granted because I believe that those teams are building for the future, and the recruits that they're getting are really good. Michigan State's going to be at worst, at best this year. I believe Michigan State goes 6-6. Um, Indiana doesn't get over the 500 mark. Rutgers could possibly make some noise this year and get over the 500 mark and get to a bowl game. Minnesota, everybody's picking them to have a super down year. They're picked anywhere near the bottom of the 18, toward the bottom, and I find that hard to believe because even though Fleck hasn't won the Big Ten West during those years, he has had some winning seasons. Um, yeah. Anyway, okay. Might need to wait a minute. Hang on. Get rid of this. Okay. Alrighty. Here. I don't know what I just did. Okay. Okay. Might need to work on the transfer portal a little on the D next year, and that's what I was telling. I think I was telling Calvin that we definitely need to work on the transfer portal next year, which is why we were thinking that this is going to be a smaller class this year. Maybe 16, 17 people, because they're going to need to free up some scholarships and make them available for some transfer portals, because I think we're looking at some transfer portal heavy transfer portal stuff next year for the defense. Guys, please welcome Mal, the sports gal. She's really knowledgeable. She's a huge Hawkeye fan, and she's a Cubs fan, I believe, and a Bears fan. And I think she's been on one of the radio stations in Des Moines, if not all of them, off and on. She'd have to verify that, but I'm glad to see Mal. I've been trying to get her on here, and she might be a guest one day soon, where she can be. You guys can talk to her and see her face to face. Um, yeah. Uh, there's no doubt that Phil will get it going this year because he's got a strong defense, top five. Next year, we're a little concerned about the defense. The depth is going to be crazy next this year, and I just pray and hope that our defense doesn't go down like our offense has in the past. Um, you know, it's just like losing a quarterback and tight ends last year. Off and on, several offensive line people were hurt off and on. Some played hurt the entire year. I believe one of those was Mason Richmond. Um, so we can't afford to have those kind of injuries this year because there's just not a lot behind what we've got. So I think it's going to really be. Um, so yeah. So anyway, I'm looking ahead to next year when I really really want to um, focus on this season, right? Phil loves guys who are veterans of his coaching. We have probably 71 returning scholarship people, and that why we will probably only sign about 17 high school kids. Yeah, and as I said before, we still need to leave some room for transfer portal. Have we gotten transfer? Have we got our scholarships down under 85 yet? Anybody know? We're down to 85. Uh, so okay. All right. Okay. Next thing I wanted to talk about while we've got a few minutes left here. I wanted to talk about some of your bold predictions, and boy, do we've got some. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. All right. Paul, one of my co-hosts here. Um. Yeah, that's true too. Some will transfer out. Okay. Paul has a couple of bold predictions here, and and when I'm looking for bold predictions, I'm looking for something out there that's just not that's just not going to be taken for granted. Like anyhow. Paul says my bold prediction is Cade plays the full season as Iowa's quarterback, and Iowa goes 8-1. Iowa leads the Big Ten in turnover margins as teams will become more aggressive on offense this year. And that's true. That's true because right now the way our offense was last year, the other teams' offenses didn't have to do a whole lot to beat us because they knew that we weren't gonna do much. Um, okay. Iowa jumps 50 places in offense to 83rd. We do that, we're going to the playoffs, dude. We're gonna do our one loss or zero losses. Um, all right, give me a second. I got to go back and pick some up from the other day. I got a whole bunch from the other day. Let me go get those. By the way, if you guys haven't noticed, I changed the Facebook page name to Talking Iowa Hawkeye Sports to match the podcast name here. And so, and all in all, that is a good matchup for that. Let me get to. By the way, while I'm looking for it, let's just congratulate Caitlin Clark and the Fever on their 8th win of the year. They had to come from behind to do it, but they also gave up a 10 or 12 point lead. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Calvin has another one. Take 400 yards a game to jump up there. Okay. All right. 400 yards. Can it be done? I don't know. Guys, I was watching one of our teams from one of the games from K Dean. I don't know who K Dean is. Anyway, welcome whoever you are. um. Okay. So, all right. I think this is. So, Lindy Magazine has us as number 6 team and out of 18, which is about where I would put us. That's where I would have put us too. So give me just a moment. I'm trying to kill some time here while I find what I'm doing. Um, by the way, guys, just on an outside thing, um, LeBron James opted out of his Lakers contract, which means he's not going to re-sign with the Lakers. What does that mean since he's got what he wanted in Bronny coming to the Lakers and he always wanted to play with his sons? What do you guys think that means in all likelihood? Wow. Okay, here we go. Here we go. There's my comments there. Okay. So let's talk about it. Jerry, he didn't put it up here, and he'll probably talk about it another time on his show. He predicts Iowa at 10-2 fringe playoff team offense is going to jump into the 90s or higher. I think that's what some of the other people are saying. Okay, LeBron is going to sign for less money, the pundits say. Okay, all right, I can see that. I kind of wondered if that's where we were going with that one. Okay, all right, all right. Calvin's already said this one, so I'll keep going. Um, Zachary Mitchell said, I was going to say 11-1, but I'm not thinking that's very bold. That's just doing business. If they beat Ohio State to make it 12-0, that would be bold. Yes, it would be, but you'd have to predict it. Let's predict it. Okay. All right. Dean Newsiel. I'll just say their first names from now on. Says I'll jump on the 10-2 bandwagon just as long as it's the second losses to ISU. Okay. He must be a ISU person. All right. Mike, a friend of mine who I went to college with, says I'm in the 9-3 camp, going to lose a random game in there. Iowa has been known to lose a random game that they shouldn't have, like Minnesota last year. That game was won, but even though that touchdown was taken off the board, you all know that we only needed to go about 20 yards. All we had to do was 20 yards to kick the winning field goal, and we weren't able to do that. Instead, we threw an interception. Okay. Iowa defense finishes in the top 10 for turnover margin, scoring defense. And if that happens, I could see 11-1. This is by a guy named Scott. And a second loss in the Big Ten championship and an large berth in the playoff. Jim says that he's predicting 8-4 season. So I think he's being bold because most of us are thinking 10-11 wins. And he's saying 8-4. So he's thinking we're not going to be too hot this year. Jeff says Sebastian Castro leads the team in interceptions. The wild receivers will have more TDs than the tight ends, and the defense pitches 3 shutouts. That'd be cool, as long as the shutouts are Ohio State. There's one of them in Iowa State. Actually, I'm going to say that they kind of scare me a little bit, guys. Iowa State does, but we'll talk about that. Hope the offense does well, Bill says, and I think 10-2 is very possible. All right. This guy's Pat. He is a Cyclone fan. He says the Cyclones shut out the Hawks for the first time since 1978, renewing calls for summary execution of the Iowa coaching staff. Fry holds firm and Iowa makes conference title game in a New Year Days bowl bid. And they beat UCLA for the first time since 1981 and the only second time since 1974 when Patty Hearst and cohorts were on the lam on I-80 across Iowa, and a trooper who stopped them for speeding let them go because they said they were so excited about a big Iowa upset on the radio they weren't paying attention to their speed. That is crazy. I didn't know that. That's funny. I do remember when we beat UCLA in 1981, and I also believe 1974. I remember that one as well. That one wasn't on TV though. That was on the radio. 10-2 for the offense will double its points from last season. Okay, so we go from 16 points a game up to about 30. Okay. I would go with that. If we go 30 points a game, we're for sure winning at least 11 games. All right. Terry says, I'm at 11-1, and I think our O is going to look like a new team. Higgins is great, and I think this O has some great talent. I believe Kate is going to do it this year, and it's his time. Worst case scenario, 10-2. So those are their predictions. You guys are online. Do you have any predictions right now? I accidentally just reported myself. I got to pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah. So and also too, I know we're talking about football and everything, but you guys know that CC all came within 1 rebound of a triple double, and no rookie's ever done that. And honestly, I would have sent her back at the end of the game and see if she could grab that 1 rebound. But that's what Bluter would have done. Bluter would have helped her get the stat by sending her back in the game and tell her to go get that 1 rebound. And basically you have the rest of the team back off so she can grab it. But that's is what it is. I mean, everything that Caitlin's got this year, she's had to work hard and earn it. And so I'm looking through here for any more comments that I want to put up that I might have missed. You guys have been good. You guys have been active on here tonight, and I appreciate that. So, okay. All right. Llama only had 2 comments tonight. I'm sorry about that, Llama. Okay. Let's go in. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. It's going to be a short, quick podcast tonight. I appreciate everybody who popped in and said hi and gave a comment. So the next podcast is tomorrow night with Paul and Jason, and we're going to be doing something a little different. And I'll let Jason explain that, and maybe have him post a thing on all the websites, all the Hawkeye group sites, tomorrow to let you guys know the time for sure and what he wants to discuss. I do know that he people have been wanting him to discuss this, and so he's going to bring it. He plans to bring it, and so tomorrow night, plan on being back here. Another podcast. Okay. Let's see. I think I'm out. I appreciate everybody. Don't forget, if you've made it this far, if you're line right now, hit the like button. Hit it, and if you're watching the replay, hit the like button if you made it this far. Um, the algorithm and stats show that people don't make it to the end of this podcast, which is fine. Some people do, but not everybody does. Um, so I need to probably start shortening up this podcast so that you guys listen to the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. So hit the subscribe button, smash it hard, make it hit, make it hard. Let's get going. We're gaining a little bit every time I do a podcast. We gain a couple of more. Right now, the next goal is 400, then 500, and then we'll start seeing what we can do to get to 1,000. I really want to get to 1,000 so that I can start and get more views. The more views I get, the more people I have following, the more likes I get, helps the algorithm, and the algorithm gets me money. And I don't get any money right now. I don't have enough viewers, and I don't have enough views. So help me do that, guys. Help me do that, and I can make this a little better quality podcast with a little better equipment, and maybe I can get some stuff in the background because I haven't figured that out, how to do like a screen in the background where I can show highlights of a game or highlights of a special person I'm talking about. And that would really be cool if I could do that. And so that would be fun. Anyway, I'm out. See you guys later, and see you tomorrow night.